Nazmul Islam is an associate professor at the Ankara Yildirim Beyazıt University. He's joining us now to discuss the latest developments from the genocide in Gaza. Good morning, Nazmul.
Good morning.
Now, yesterday, the world marked the first anniversary of Israel's ongoing genocide in the Gaza Strip. Given the historical context of the Global South's role in unseating apartheid South Africa, do you believe the same level of international mobilization against Israel is achievable today? What specific barriers exist now that didn't in the 1970s, especially considering the close alliances between Israel and powerful nations like the U.S.?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. When we're talking about 1970s, we have to look what time we are talking. During 1970s, we were living in a Cold War. And during the Cold War time, there were, of course, two major blocs in the international community, especially in international politics, like a Soviet Union bloc versus American bloc. And in that time also there were another bloc that was emerged like a non-alignment movement. And in that non-alignment movement, most of the countries who participated in that non-alignment movement, they were from the Global South. And those Global Southern countries, they were much more or they have a much effective voice to talk or to say something, anything that happened during that time, is including the South African apartheid that happened there. And we saw that many countries from Global South, they raised their voice and they were united against this apartheid. But in recent times, what we have seen, we are living in a multipolar world, and in a multipolar world, it's quite different that we lived during the Cold War, like a bilateral world. So in a multilateral world or multipolar world, the problem is here we have many emerging and many powers in regional level. But another problem, when we are seeing like USA, a unipolar country, they have specific interest and they have a specific policy with Israel. And that makes these multipolar countries, especially the Global South, like India, like China, like many other powers from the Global South, they're specifically taking side. And sometimes they're not taking and effectively putting their role in this conflict. And that's why we are not seeing like the same way what we have seen in 1970s, even also in many other conflict during that time, they have had an effective role. But in nowadays, they're just doing some role, but it's just only based on a statement, because every multi-polar world's powers, they have a specific interest and they want to do everything for their interest, and they're just looking from their regional perspective, and they don't want to involve in any kind of international issue like Israel issue, even the to some extent like Ukraine issue. So for them, even it is one of the worst humanitarian case we have so far seen from the history, but still we are not seeing any effective role from the Global South.
The International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court have issued rulings against Israel, but accountability remains elusive. What are the main reasons behind the lack of enforcement of these rulings, and how can the Global South ensure that such legal decisions lead to tangible consequences for Israel?
Yeah, it's a very crucial things. The Global South. These countries, they are really the future of international politics and the future of international economy, because geopolitically, geoeconomically, even the geosecurity perspective, we have seen the world's politics is a little bit looking from the Global South rather than the Global North or the global other sides. So in that way, yes, these countries, they should input their let's say like accountability for International Court of Justice, and they can ensure the many other roles to ensure the peace in here. But we have seen this country, they're somehow don't want to involve themselves in such kind of activity. We can talk in many countries from the Global South. They are looking more economic and trade rather than to talk international peace or stability. And somehow they are really try to not look the issues what is going on in there. just based on simple concern or a statement rather than to talk the effective solution. And why it is happening, as I said earlier, I mean, it is because we are in a multipolar world, and these countries, they just want to look and to establish their interest in their regional way, rather than to look like what will be the future of the world, what will be the future of the humanity, what of the future of the humanitarian role. So that's why they somehow ignore the accountability. They somehow ignore the to talk more effective way against this kind of terrorist activity that is going on in Middle East, especially by Israel. They're not talking effectively. I mean, we so far didn't see any kind of effective moves from the global South, even in ICJ. I think they can do something more rather than to talk from their foreign ministry. They can involve in a ICJ, and they can put their let's say effective role when some countries like South Africa, they involve directly in ICJ. They can be also the one of the partner countries with South Africa, as we have seen that Turkey also did these things a very well way, but somehow we didn't see. I mean, even if I remember well, I mean, there were no countries who directly said like, okay, we will be also together with South Africa to ensure peace and stability in the region, and we will try to take the country who did this kind of activity in ICJ. So it looks like the global South actually or didn't maintain any kind of accountability in the region.
Now, in this conflict, we've seen world leaders publicly condemn Israeli atrocities. Chinese President Xi Jinping is also one of those leaders who have criticized Israel's blanket bombardment of civilians and condemned violations of international law. Now, what role is China playing here? Is it positioning itself as a peace-seeking power?
I mean, look, I mean, we're talking about a country who are supposed to be another great power, or we can see like if there is a fight between the two bipolar countries like US and China, of course, China is going to be another powerful nation in the world's politics. So in that sense, just making a condemn or talking and giving a statement is not enough. I mean, they should to be much more active in this kind of conflict. I mean, we have seen in last couple of times China tried to be one of the mediator, but it looks like it was just to some way somehow not directly involved in a conflict, rather to make some sort of meetings. But we have to talk like that China should to be involved actively. And what does it, these kind of things, let's say like, Chinese president or Chinese foreign minister, they should meet more frequently with the Palestinians authority. They should meet with the regional authority from regional countries or regional actors in this area. But also they should make a force. I mean, because they have a very active trade relations with many countries in Middle East. Especially they have a very good role in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, in also many other countries in the region. And together with these all countries, they should make a much more effective. Let's talk about the sanction or embargo. I mean, we are talking much more, hard forces they should use against this kind of inhuman activity that is going on here. Why we're expecting such thing? Because we look like China is coming in the world politics as one of the great power countries. So great powers should come with great responsibility. They shouldn't like depend on some kind of like condemn or statement. I'm sure like any scholars or any even the human from the global citizen, I mean, they can expect something more from China. I mean, just only making a statement or condemn is not enough from China, as they should do more. I mean, in this kind of global conflict, because now Israel and Gaza issue or Palestine issue, it's not only two countries issue. Recently we have seen they attacked again on Lebanon, and it looks like once we read, I mean, so many scholars say a conspiracy theory or something else, but now it looks like true. I mean, the Greater Israel Project, it looks like the Israel is doing something like that. So the global South, like China China or the another great powers, even including China, many other great powers, they should come together and they should act together against this kind of activity, because it will not only destroy the regional peace, it will actually destroy the global peace. So to ensure the global peace, even to ensure the global trade for China, for example, they need to ensure the peaceful activity of their trade and economy. So to ensure those kind of things, they need to act more, decisively and more effectively. I mean, doing something like condemn. I'm sure it will not only destroy the trust, who trust like the role of the China, and also the destroy the Chinese placement in world politics. So to ensure their placement in international politics, they should work more wisely and more accountable way.
Now, India, on the other hand, has continuously expressed support for Israel. There are reports that the Indian government has sent hundreds of fighters to help Netanyahu's genocide in Gaza. We know the circumstances of Muslims living in India. This seems to be a golden opportunity for Prime Minister Modi's government to fast-track the killings of Muslims, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's here we have to see these things from different perspectives. Of course, the two things I have to mention here. One is about the common security issue, and the other is common trade issue. So the common security issues here, the India in recent times, especially when Modi government or Modi came to the power in 2014, we have seen the India develop their specific relations with many countries from the Middle East, including the Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia, UAE, and also they developed their very deep relations and very profound and intensive relations with Israel. And it looks like these security relations included the defense, military, and also military technology, and also some secret technologies, something like used for the secret operation or intelligence operation they are taking from the Israel. So that's why it's very clear that India, why they are supporting Israel and how they are dependent on Israel. And the second thing is a trade bloc. Recently, we have seen that in the last year in G20 meeting, the India, including led by USA and some Middle Eastern and European countries, they took a bloc. It's called Trade Corridor (IMEC). And that trade corridor also is important for India to have a very deep relations with Israel. And by making such relations, India want to establish their own stance in Middle East and also global politics. So that's why they are very open to support and to have good relations with Israel. And they are not. I mean, especially the Modi government, they are not taking any kind of secret things to support Israel. They are very open why they are supporting Israel. But the thing is here, I mean, if we look to the Indians' foreign policy from their let's say from 1947, it was very clear that India most of the time they supported Palestine. But in recent times, the things India is doing, it is actually not about or not against Palestine. It is against humanity, because India, as a responsible country, as going to be another emerging power, they should act decisively. They should act more humanitarian rather than to look simple national interest. And it's also another problem from the global south, because they are not taking less effective role when it is needed for the global peace. And the other things for Modi's government and also the Israel's, especially the Netanyahu's government, they have a common, from their perspective, they have a common enemy, and that's Muslims. So both of them, they are looking to the Muslims from the same tactics, same strategies, same perspective, same insight. So that's why both are they felt like they are in the same coin, they are in the same side, and they need to support each other, because today they are supporting Israel, tomorrow Israel will support India. So it works very understandable way, and that's the way they are making, or they made their foreign policy. Apart from that, India, they have a good number of diaspora inside Israel. more than 30,000 of Indians diaspora are working inside Israel. So it is also another factor, apart from even the soldiers or those things which are not available information. But in reality, even the many diaspora people of Indians who are working Israel, and they are mostly working for the Israel's government, and in that way they are making their good connections with each other. But the thing is here maybe from the global perspective, it's not that much bad. But the bad is here. There is a conflict and there is a genocide is ongoing, and taking this kind of side with a country who are making this genocide, it would be one of the worst things for the history of the India. And I'm sure like India should think about that, like what kind of things they're doing now.
Nazmul Islam, thank you for joining NewsHour, and thank you for your analysis.
Thank you so much.
Now moving on.